Hello everyone, welcome to another Python video. In this video today, we're just going to be looking at the typical workflow of us doing Python. And in the next video, we're going to be incorporating using Git and GitHub as well. But for this video, we're just going to be getting comfortable with Visual Studio Code. And I'm hoping that you have this running in your computer. And right now, what I have is just an empty Visual Studio code running right now. I personally don't run any extensions. I just use it very basic because we are all starting to become a new programmer that uses a VS Code as our IDE. And what I don't want you to do is really just bombard you with a whole bunch of extensions that you have to rely upon. And I just want you to get down to coding. So what we're going to do is whenever we work on a programming, what I want you to do is really open a folder rather than a file, because I do want you to work off of a folder. Personally, I have a code folder and I have my ICS4U. So what we're going to do is just kind of use that as our workspace. And what's going to do is it's going to open up my terminal, and my terminal is going to be pointed towards that folder that I'm working on so that I can start manipulating some terminal based coding. So on your terminal, if I were to type in ls, it just gives me a list of stuff like the folders that I have. So they're going to be called directories. So that's why they have D. And then I have some like files that open up so they don't have the notification or the labeling as D, so I know that they're not folders or directories, but rather than a actual file. So what I'm going to do is right now, just in this folder, we're going to create a new file, and I'm going to personally create it in a video solution. You can actually put it in whatever code you want, folder you want. And we're going to say this is going to be an intro.py. And there we go. We've created an intro.py. Okay, so for me, I've created a file in Video Solution. So if you want to go to that, we can say video cd video underscore solution. What this does is saying I'm now changing the directory where my terminal is pointed to, because prior I was pointed towards ICS4U underscore 2023-4, 2023F, but now I'm in a folder called Video Solution. All right, so now if I were to do ls, these are all the videos that I've created for Python so far, and you get to see a whole different list. But we have intro, has nothing inside because it has a length of 0, and we'll be manipulating that. And let me clear all that, and you can do that by typing clear. Here, you use hashtags to create comments in Python. So I'm just going to say that a basic Python program. Now, what we're going to do in this program here is just really write our code here and try to run it here. And the first thing we're going to do is say we're going to create a variable. All right, so this is a variable called first name, and it's going to store my first name. What we're going to do is say input, enter your first name. And the cool thing about the input function is that it's allowed to take one single string as an argument. And what it's going to do, it is going to print this message into your terminal. And it's going to wait until a user types some sort of a value. And it's going to grab that and assign it to this variable here. Okay, so let's see. We can look at what the value that is contained in a variable by using a print statement. So if I were to save that code and ask Python to run my intro.py code, it's going to ask, and it's going to, run that code right there. It's saying input. It took this as an argument and outputs that to the terminal. And it's pretty much giving you an instruction of what should be inputted right now for your code, because we're running the input function. And I'm going to say my first name is Jasper. If I were to press enter, it will grab that typed data that we just grabbed and assign it to this variable called first underscore name, and it has been assigned right there. So we're going to be doing some sort of stuff like this a little bit more. So I'm just going to comment that out and we'll improve upon our code, because we want our last name, input, enter your last name, like so. And we can say, let's grab our birth year. What year were you born? Okay, enter your birth year. I know it seems a little weird that we are grabbing some sensitive information, but it's for the sake of this tutorial. All right, so we have 3 variables, and in Python we don't need to state the data type of what our variable is. We don't need to have semicolons at the end to say that we have ended our code line. Python will know based on stylizing and the organization of your code. So it's very imperative that you follow good structure in your code and have good naming practices. Okay. Now a birth year, that seems like a numeric data rather than a string data. What input does, and it's just a little note here. Nope. Input always grabs terminal data as a string. So we're going to need to convert that because birth year is not a string, it's rather an integer. So what we can do is do a function within a function. We ran the input function, and we're going to say after we run that, we're going to trap an int over it to convert. So int converts its parameters, argument to an integer. So it's going to grab the terminal data that we assign here and try to convert to an integer. So let's see what happened. Let's run this code. I've saved my code. I write Python intro.py. If you're using a Mac, you might have to attach a 3 after Python. We're going to enter my first name, Jasper, and I have to enter my last name, Park. Now I'm going to enter my birth year, okay? If I were to say, for example, 92, it's going to get an error. It's going to tell me, well, invalid literal for int with the base 10. Like, we can't convert a text to an integer because it doesn't know what to do. But if I were to rerun this code by saying Python intro.py, we can say that my name is, once again, Jasper Park, and my birth year was 1992. We don't get an error because that numerically as a string, holistically, we're able to convert that to a valid integer. That means my age can be calculated. My age would be, which will be taking our current year subtracted by the year that you were born, which is our birth year, like so. Now I've created a new variable called age, and it's going to be storing the result of what's it called? My age by taking my birth year and subtracting that from 2024. Then we can print out a message. We can say like print my first name, print my last name, and then print my age. So if we're to run this code, actually let's save this code. All right, clear. We're gonna run our Python intro.py. My first name is Jasper Park, and my birth year is going to be 1992, and outputs the message of Jasper Park in 32. Now that's not pretty. That's just having our variable values being printed one by one. We want to format that. So let's turn this off again and create a message variable, and we're going to be creating an F in front of a string. This is called an F string, a formatted string. Okay, this allows us to format how we want our strings to look like with the values of our variables embedded. So we can say, hello, first name, last name. You are age years old. Right? We want to have that message, and we get to incorporate these values into this holistic string. Then I can say print message like so. And if I really wanted to, I can get rid of that space there and add in a new line character like that. So let's see what happens now. Turn my name, last name, my birth year, and we get this message. We have hello Jasper Park, period. We said we're going to create a new line, and it's going to say you are 32 years old, and this is how we can do a formatted string. Awesome. So if we have stuff like this, we can also do conditionals. Conditionals are having multiple pathways in our programs where it really depends on a value. So for example, if I would say an if I say if my age is greater or equal to 19, then we are gonna execute this code block. So we can say print you are old enough to drink. And we can say else print you are not old enough to drink. All right, so let's see what happens here. So my name is Jasper Park and my birth year is 1992. says, hello, Jasper Park, you're 32 years old, and it's going to output you're old enough to drink, and it's not going to output you are not old enough to drink because this statement was true. Conditionals are always about your Boolean statements being true or false. So if this statement's true, it's going to do this. In all other cases, when that is false, it's going to output that. So let's say we have Timmy Turner, who was, let's say, born in 2006. Okay, 2006. Timmy Turner. Hello, Timmy Turner. You are 18 years old. You're not old enough to drink because that value of age is not greater nor equal to 19, and therefore you're not old enough to drink. Okay, awesome. So today we talked about how to use input, how to use a print statement, how to use a formatted string, and we got into a little introduction of conditionals, of comparing a value of a variable. Okay, so this is the essence of Python and how we use the terminal as well to help us code. Okay, and as always, thank you for watching and stay classy.